Welcome to Singapore Property Talk Law, where we dive deep into the insights and facts that help you become truly well-informed about Singapore's housing landscape.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're tackling a big topic, one that affects countless HDB homeowners, present and future. The Voluntary Early Redevelopment Scheme, or VERS.
Right.
It's a scheme that's, well, it's been on many minds, sparking significant discussion, and we've got a stack of recent updates to explore.
Absolutely. And VRS isn't just another policy announcement. It's really a critical component of Singapore's long-term housing strategy. Understanding VRS goes beyond just knowing the policy details. It's about grasping what it truly means for your home, your family's future, and the broader urban landscape for decades to come.
Yeah.
We're here to unravel its purpose, why it's becoming so prominent now, and what tangible implications it might hold for you, our listener.
Precisely. And look, before we delve into this crucial conversation, if you're finding these deep dives helpful and insightful, please remember to like this deep dive and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, that really helps us out.
It's the best way to ensure you won't miss any of our latest insights into Singapore's dynamic property scene. Okay, let's get into the heart of it. So to start us off, what exactly is VRS, and why is the government placing such a significant emphasis on it right now? It feels like it's really stepped up lately.
Right. At its core, VRS is about progressively redeveloping older HDB estates before their 99-year leases completely expire. That's the key, the before.
Okay.
And the National Development Minister, Chee Hong Tat, has confirmed a very clear and I'd say significant policy pivot here. The government will now explicitly focus its efforts on VRS, stating directly that there are no plans for further projects under the Selective En Bloc Redevelopment Scheme, or SERS.
Wow, okay, no more SERS projects planned.
That's the message. This isn't just a minor adjustment. It's quite a profound shift in how Singapore approaches the renewal of its public housing stock.
That is a huge clarification, especially for our listeners. I mean, for years, SERS was almost synonymous with a potential windfall for homeowners, wasn't it?
It certainly had that reputation for some.
So what's the fundamental difference then between VERS and SERS? Especially since SERS has been around since 1995. It really frames expectations.
It's a crucial distinction, yeah, and understanding it is key. SERS, the Selective En Bloc Redevelopment Scheme, is a compulsory scheme.
Right, compulsory.
The government unilaterally chooses which HDB precincts to redevelop, typically those identified as having very high redevelopment potential or, strategic importance.
Okay.
When a SERS project is announced, homeowners are compensated based on the market value of their flats at that specific time. They're also typically given an option for a new flat nearby, often with a fresh 99-year lease, plus rehousing benefits like a $30,000 grant.
Right.
We've seen about 80 SERS projects completed since it started.
So SERS is government-initiated, based on their planning, often with that financial uplift people talked about. But VERS sounds quite different, particularly that word voluntary.
Indeed. VERS stands in stark contrast because it is, as the name suggests, voluntary. It will involve homeowners in selected precincts, typically those where flats are approaching, say, 70 years old or more.
70 years, okay.
Choosing through a vote if they want their homes to be acquired by the government for redevelopment before the leases run out.
Ah, so the residents get a say, a vote.
Exactly. This means the decision to proceed ultimately rests with a majority of residents in a selected precinct. Now, the exact voting threshold for a VERS project to proceed hasn't been announced yet.
Right.
But the emphasis on homeowner choice and collective decision-making is really a central part that sets it apart from SERS.
That concept of a vote is a significant shift, isn't it? Empowering residents, moving from an imposed decision to communal one.
It is.
So how does the compensation stack up then? Because the source materials consistently emphasize less financial upside for VERS compared to what many associated with SERS. What does that truly mean for a homeowner?
That less generous term, or less financial upside, is a critical insight, yes. And it fundamentally reframes what homeowners should probably expect. Unlike SERS, where compensation aimed to reflect market value and often provided, a substantial financial boost, the terms for VERS will offer less financial upside. This is primarily because the flats involved are significantly older and much closer to the end of their leases.
It makes sense.
Their inherent market value with a depleting lease is naturally lower. It's just a fundamental difference in the asset's depreciated value over time.
Okay.
The minister has also underscored that this approach must be fair not just to the current generation, but equally to future generations of Singaporeans. And crucially, it must be financially sustainable for the long term for the nation.
So sustainability is key.
Absolutely. The core takeaway here is that the government is signaling a shift away from what some might perceive as a payout, or maybe even a lottery-like model under SERS, to more of a managed expiry model. The focus is on equitable land recycling and sustainability, not maximizing individual profit from an aging asset right at the end of its life. So this naturally leads us to a broader question. Why VERS now? What's the long-term vision behind this strategic shift? What problem is it really trying to solve for Singapore?
Well, the sources talk about avoiding massive disruption in the future. That sounds quite dramatic. What kind of scale are we talking about?
It is, potentially, yeah. In terms of both urban planning and social impact, to understand this, we need to look back a bit at Singapore's housing history.
Okay.
Many older HDB estates across Singapore, particularly in mature towns, were built very rapidly, back in the 1970s and 1980s.
A big building boom then.
Exactly. It was a period of intense development to meet really urgent housing demands as the nation grew. Now, if all these flats were just allowed to run their full 99-year lease course without any intervention, we'd face a situation where a massive concentration of leases would expire around the same time, specifically in the 2070s and 2080s.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot hitting at once.
Imagine the sheer logistical challenge. This scenario would mean mass relocations for potentially hundreds of thousands of residents simultaneously, and it would require building an immense number of new homes in a very short period to rehouse everyone.
That would be incredibly disruptive.
Totally. Disruptive to residents' lives, their communities, and the overall housing supply chain.
I see. So VRS is fundamentally about strategically pacing this redevelopment to avoid that bottleneck, preventing a housing crunch down the line. It's proactive management.
Precisely. It's designed to progressively redevelop these older estates over a more manageable period, maybe spanning 2 or 3 decades,
Right.
thereby avoiding that single massive crunch point way off in the future. The underlying idea is that, ideally, new flats for VERS residents would be built not too far from their existing homes.
Keeping communities together.
Hopefully, yeah, allowing communities to largely remain intact. Then, once residents have moved, their old precinct can be redeveloped, and the land used to build new homes for residents of a subsequent VRS project.
Ah, like a rolling plan.
Exactly. This iterative, staged process is crucial. It prevents sudden, large-scale disruptions to entire towns and ensures an orderly, continuous supply of land for future housing needs. Keeps the urban fabric stable.
That makes perfect sense for long-term planning. So when is this actually going to happen? The sources provide some fairly concrete timelines for when we can expect to see this scheme begin to roll out.
Well, the government aims to thoroughly flesh out the VRS framework in this current term of government, which means it must conclude by 2030.
Okay, so framework details by 2030.
Yes, and this involves significant prep work, setting precise parameters to identify suitable VR sites, ensuring a sufficient pipeline of new homes are ready in time for residents to relocate,
Logistics.
and meticulously working out the detailed, fair compensation package for affected households. And crucially, before any projects officially tick off, public views and feedback on the proposed scheme will be actively sought
Good. Consultation first.
to ensure it aligns with residents' needs and concerns.
And after that framework is set, when do we anticipate seeing the very first VRS projects actually, break ground?
Following the public consultation, the first VRS projects will likely begin with a few selected sites in the first half of the 2030s.
First half of the 2030s, so still a little way off.
Yes. These initial projects will serve as important test beds, basically. After gaining experience and refining processes from these early ventures, the plan is to progressively scale up VRs by the late 2030s,
Scaling up later.
offering it to selected estates across different parts of Singapore. This phased approach allows authorities to continuously review and refine processes, learn and adapt as they go, ensuring the scheme is robust and responsive.
For our listeners, many of whom are HDB homeowners, the natural question is going to be, will my area be affected? What kind of estates are we talking about here? Which towns are most likely to see VRs?
We're primarily looking at towns that experienced that rapid development back in the 1970s and 1980s.
Those mature estates.
Often the large, mature estates, yeah. Examples include places like Ang Mo Kio, Bedok, Tampines, Yishun, where tens of thousands of flats were built and sold during those decades.
Got it.
But it also includes some of Singapore's oldest flats on 99-year leases, which were completed as early as 1962.
Oh, 1962.
Yeah, these truly pioneering units found in areas like Tanjong Rhu, Tiong Bahru, Dakota, they would already be around 68 years old by 2030.
So they'd be prime candidates.
Making them prime candidates for early consideration under the VRS scheme, absolutely. Moving on, if we consider the full implications of VRS, the compensation aspect, well, it's proving to be a highly debated and complex issue, and for very understandable reasons. It's not just a simple calculation.
That's interesting. My first thought, maybe like many listeners, is that compensation would be a straightforward formula, maybe based on declining lease or a set rate. What makes it so complex for VRS? Is it economics, social equity?
It's really a mix of all those factors. Observers, including sociologists and real estate experts, are strongly cautioning that a one-size-fits-all compensation policy just might not work effectively for VRs.
Why not?
The main reason is that households in these older estates have vastly varied needs and financial capacities. Think about it. You might have elderly residents with limited savings who could genuinely struggle to afford a new home, even with some compensation.
Different life stages.
Or large multi-generational households that could potentially need larger or even multiple replacement flats to comfortably accommodate everyone. The impact of VRs can be incredibly wide-ranging and deeply personal depending on a household's specific circumstances.
So it's not just about the flat's value, but the real diverse life situations of the people inside. That really highlights the human side of these policies.
Precisely. And to address this complexity, suggestions from experts include tailoring compensation to individual household circumstances.
Tailoring it.
Well, for instance, one approach could be offering older generations a smaller flat on a shorter lease, maybe 50 or 60 years, which might better suit their needs and financial situation.
Okay.
Meanwhile, younger family members from the same household could be given options for separate flats on a standard 99-year lease, allowing them to build equity and plan for their own future.
Providing different options within the same household.
Exactly. The goal here is to ensure residents aren't significantly worse off after the scheme, especially when you consider the fundamental objective of the 99-year lease system, equitable land recycling and providing for future generations. It's a really delicate balance.
That really clarifies the challenge. Sure. Okay, what about lease extensions or refreshes? That's something many HDB homeowners might hope for as their leases dwindle. Would VRS lead to that, or is it fundamentally about enabling land recycling?
Sociologist Tan Ernser offers a pretty clear perspective here. Leasehold is leasehold.
Leasehold is leasehold. Okay.
He states quite clearly that a full lease reset, meaning restoring it back to 99 years, would effectively render the entire leasehold system meaningless. It undermines its core purpose of eventually returning land to the state for redevelopment.
Right. The land needs to be recycled.
So instead, the more reasonable and sustainable scenario for VRS residents is compensation for the remaining lease period, coupled with access to alternative, affordable housing arrangements.
Alternative housing.
And these alternative flats might indeed come with shorter leases themselves, perhaps aligning with the individual's remaining life expectancy or family needs. He emphasizes that the alternative, if VERS wasn't implemented, would be residents eventually finding themselves with no compensation and no housing at the absolute end of a 99-year lease. That's a far more challenging outcome.
Definitely.
So VERS is designed to offer a planned, supported pathway that avoids that really difficult scenario.
That puts things into perspective. It's not just acquisition, but avoiding a future cliff edge. Now, thinking about these aging estates and the long timelines, how will the government ensure these homes stay livable until VERS potentially happens? They'll be 70, 80 years old. This is where HIP2, the Home Improvement Program 2, comes in, right?
Absolutely. HIP2 is designed specifically for that. It's the second round of upgrades for HDB flats, taking place when they reach the 60 to 70-year mark.
Second round.
And it will be significantly more extensive than the current HIP, which happens earlier, around the 30-year mark.
Why more extensive?
Well, these older units naturally require more substantial work to remain safe and comfortable. For instance, HIP2 will adopt more advanced corrosion-resistant repair methods for spalling concrete, a common issue in older buildings, addressing it more comprehensively.
Okay, better tech.
And it will also explore and deploy new detection technologies, like using microwave scanning to identify hidden concrete spalling or to precisely find water seepage within walls. HDB's already used this tech in some cases and is analyzing results to optimize it for HIP2.
That sounds like a vital intervention. So is it one or the other, HIP2 or VRs? Do you get an upgrade or an acquisition?
No, and this is a really important point. They are not mutually exclusive.
Ah, okay.
Flats could indeed undergo HIP2 and subsequently be offered VRs later on.
So you could get both.
Potentially, yes. Given that VR projects will be deliberately spread out over 2 to 3 decades to manage the scale,
Right, the pacing.
it means not every older flat will be redeveloped immediately. Therefore, many flats will still need HIP2 when they are around 60 years old to ensure they remain livable, safe, and in good condition until they might eventually be selected for VR.
So it bridges the gap.
Exactly. It's about ensuring sustained livability for aging flats throughout this long-term process, providing residents with a comfortable home in the interim. We expect more details on HIP2 specifics around the 2026 budget debate.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, our listener? VERS isn't just another government scheme or acronym. It's really a profound long-term plan to reshape our HDB towns, ensuring the viability of public housing in Singapore. It's a delicate act, balancing the needs of current homeowners with the crucial sustainability of our housing supply for future generations. It's a deliberate, staged approach to something that could otherwise be, well, very disruptive for the whole nation.
That's an excellent summary. It fundamentally shifts the paradigm from maybe opportunistic redevelopment to planned progressive renewal, ensuring a steady long-term supply of land for housing for decades ahead. And this raises an important question for you, our listener, to really consider. Given the long-term staged nature of VERS and the clear focus on addressing differing household needs within its compensation framework, how might you begin to plan your own housing journey and financial future differently, especially considering the eventual reality of your HDB flats lease? What does this mean for your family's next steps, your long-term planning?
A lot to think about, definitely. We truly hope this deep dive into VERS has given you a much clearer, more nuanced picture of what's coming for Singapore's public housing landscape.
Hope so.
Join us next time on Singapore Property Talk Law for another deep dive into the insights that matter to you.